Hey everyone, welcome back to the Business Ethics Playlist. Before we dive deep into case studies, philosophical debates, and real workplace dilemmas, we need to talk vocabulary. Here is why this matters. In business ethics, words are not just definitions on a page. They are the tools you use to identify problems, build arguments, and make decisions that affect real people. If you do not know what a stakeholder is, you cannot protect one. If you cannot define corporate social responsibility, you cannot hold a company accountable for it. So today we are building your foundation. We are covering 15 key terms pulled from across all 11 chapters of business ethics, grouped by theme with real-world examples for each one. Lock these in, and every other video in this playlist gets easier. Let us go. Theme 1. The Foundation of Ethics. Let us start at the beginning with the term ethics itself. Ethics refers to the principles and standards that guide behavior toward what is good, right, and fair. This is not just a philosophy classroom concept. Think about a pharmacist who refuses to fill a prescription they believe was forged, even though the customer is upset. That pharmacist is acting on ethical principles, putting what is right above what is convenient. Next up is normative ethics. Normative ethics is the branch of ethics that asks what people ought to do and provides frameworks for answering that question. In Chapter 2, we trace this all the way back to ancient Greece. A modern example is a tech company asking, ought we collect user data even if it is legal? That is a normative question. Closely related is descriptive ethics. Where normative ethics asks what should happen, descriptive ethics studies what actually happens. It observes and records the moral beliefs and behaviors of people and organizations without judging them. A researcher documenting how different cultures handle bribery in business is doing descriptive ethics work. Finally, in this section, ethical relativism. This is the view that moral standards are not universal, but are instead shaped by culture, history, and context. Chapter 5 digs into this. A real-world tension here is gift-giving in business. In some cultures, offering gifts to potential partners is a sign of respect. In others, the same action is considered a bribe. Ethical relativism explains why the same act can be judged differently, depending on who is watching. Theme 2. Stakeholders and Responsibility. Now let us move into one of the most important concept clusters in the entire book, stakeholders. A stakeholder is any individual or group who has an interest in or is affected by the decisions and actions of a business. Chapter 3 is dedicated entirely to this idea. Stakeholders include employees, customers, suppliers, investors, and even the local community. When Johnson & Johnson recalled Tylenol bottles in 1982 after a tampering crisis, they were prioritizing the safety of their stakeholders, specifically customers, over short-term profits. That decision is still studied today as a model of ethical leadership. Now compare that to a primary stakeholder versus a secondary stakeholder. Primary stakeholders are those directly involved in the economic activity of the business, like employees and shareholders. Secondary stakeholders are affected by the business, but are not directly part of its transactions, like the surrounding community or environmental advocacy groups. A chemical plant's employees are primary stakeholders. The families living downstream from that plant are secondary stakeholders, but their well-being is no less important. Chapter 4 introduces 3 special stakeholders, and they deserve their own term. Corporate social responsibility, or CSR, is the obligation a business has to act in ways that benefit society, the environment, and the broader public, beyond just making a profit. Patagonia is a textbook example. They donate a percentage of profits to environmental causes and have even encouraged customers to buy less of their product to reduce waste. That is CSR in action. Tied to CSR is sustainability. Sustainability means meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. A food company switching to recyclable packaging is making a sustainability decision. It costs more now but protects resources and brand reputation long-term. Theme 3. Workplace Ethics. Chapters 6 and 7 shift our focus to the employment relationship, and several key terms emerge here. Employment at will is the legal doctrine in the United States that allows an employer to terminate an employee for any reason, or no reason at all, as long as it is not an illegal reason. A company laying off a department to cut costs is exercising employment at will. The ethical debate is whether legal permission to do something makes it the right thing to do. On the other side of that coin is due process in the workplace. This refers to fair procedures being followed before any disciplinary action or termination takes place. An employee accused of misconduct who is given a chance to present their side before a decision is made is receiving due process. It is about fairness, not just legality. Another term from Chapter 7 is conflict of interest. A conflict of interest occurs when a person's personal interests could improperly influence their professional decisions. A purchasing manager who awards a contract to a company owned by their sibling has a conflict of interest, even if they genuinely believe it is the best vendor. The problem is the appearance of bias and the potential for abuse. Whistleblowing is the act of an employee reporting illegal, unethical, or unsafe behavior within their organization to internal leaders or external authorities. Sharon Watkins, who raised concerns about Enron's accounting practices, is one of the most famous whistleblowers in American business history. Chapter 7 addresses the ethical duty and personal risks involved in this act. Theme 4: Rights, Professions, and the Future. Chapter 8 focuses on rights, so let us define two key terms here. A moral right is an entitlement that is grounded in ethical principles rather than laws. You have a moral right to be treated with dignity at work, even if no specific law enforces that in every situation. Contrast that with a legal right, which is an entitlement formally recognized and enforceable under the law, like the right to a minimum wage. Chapter 9 examines specific professions, and here the term professional ethics becomes essential. Professional ethics refers to the standards of conduct expected of individuals in a specific career field. Doctors have medical ethics. Lawyers have legal ethics. Accountants have accounting ethics enforced by professional boards. When an accountant at a firm discovers their client is hiding income and chooses to report it rather than ignore it, they are following professional ethics over personal convenience. Finally, from Chapter 10, let us talk about algorithmic bias. As workplaces become more technology-driven, artificial intelligence and automated systems are making decisions about hiring, promotions, and lending. Algorithmic bias occurs when these automated systems reflect and reinforce existing human prejudices. An AI hiring tool trained on data from a historically male-dominated company may consistently rank male applicants higher. Recognizing this bias is now an urgent ethical responsibility for businesses using these technologies. So there you have it. 15 essential terms from across business ethics, grouped by theme so you can see how they connect to each other and to the real world. Ethics and normative ethics give you the why and the what. Stakeholders, CSR, and sustainability put responsibility in a business context. Employment at will, due process, conflict of interest, and whistleblowing navigate the complicated relationship between employers and employees. And moral rights, professional ethics, and algorithmic bias prepare you for the harder questions ahead. Here is your call to action. Go back to the chapter-specific videos in this playlist. Every time you hear one of these terms, pause and ask yourself, how does this term connect to the example they are using? That one habit will transform you from someone who memorizes definitions to someone who actually thinks ethically. Subscribe if you have not already, drop your questions in the comments below, and we will see you in the next video.